In my neighbor's embrace. It all began on a quiet evening when the summer heat was finally fading, and I opened the window of my small apartment to let in the cool breeze. From next door, I heard the sound of laughter, low and warm, a man's voice that I had grown familiar with over the past few months. His name was Daniel, my neighbor. We had exchanged polite greetings before, the casual "good morning," the occasional small talk when we bumped into each other in the hallway. But there was always something in his eyes, a spark I couldn't quite ignore. And if I was honest with myself, I often found excuses to linger a little longer when our paths crossed. That evening, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, there he was, Daniel, standing with a bottle of wine in his hand and a half-shy smile. "Thought you might like some company," he said. I should have hesitated. I should have said no, but instead, I stepped aside and let him in. We sat on the couch, the wine glasses filling and emptying slowly. At first, it was light-hearted stories about work, about the city, about neighbors we both found amusing. But as the night deepened, so did the conversation. He leaned closer, his voice lower, his eyes fixed on mine. "You know," he said, "I've wanted to sit here with you like this for a long time." My breath caught. The air between us shifted, heavy with tension. I could feel the warmth radiating from him, and my heart beat faster with every second of silence. Then, without giving myself time to think, I whispered, "Me too." The kiss happened naturally, almost inevitably. His lips found mine gently at first, testing, searching. But the moment I responded, everything became deeper, hungrier. His hands brushed my cheek, slid to the back of my neck, pulling me closer until there was no space left between us. I melted into him, into the warmth of his embrace, the strength of his arms, the tenderness that contrasted with the fire of his touch. For a moment, the world outside didn't exist. There was only the rhythm of his breath, the beating of my heart, the taste of red wine still lingering on our lips. When we finally pulled apart, my head rested against his chest. His heartbeat was fast, matching mine. "Are we doing something we shouldn't?" I asked softly. He hesitated, then kissed the top of my hair. "Maybe," he admitted. "But it feels like the only thing I've wanted for so long." And in that moment, wrapped in his arms, I realized I didn't care about the rules anymore. For the first time in years, I felt alive, desired, and truly seen. That night was the beginning of something neither of us had planned. What started as neighbors sharing a bottle of wine became a story of passion, of secrets, of nights spent in each other's arms, nights we would never forget. And as I closed my eyes in Daniel's embrace, I knew that whatever the future held, this was where I belonged. The days after that first night were filled with an unspoken electricity. Every time I passed Daniel in the hallway, every time our eyes met, it felt like a secret only we shared. No one else in the building knew what had happened, that in the quiet of my living room, between laughter and a bottle of wine, we had crossed a line we could never step back from. But neither of us wanted to. One evening, only a week later, there was a knock on my door again. I didn't have to ask who it was. My heart already knew. When I opened it, Daniel was standing there, his gaze softer than before, yet filled with something undeniable. "I couldn't stop thinking about you," he confessed, his voice low and raw. Before I could reply, he stepped inside, closing the door behind him. The moment it clicked shut, his arms wrapped around me, pulling me close as if he had been starving for this all week. His lips captured mine, desperate and full of longing, and my body responded instantly, as though it had been waiting for this embrace. This time, there was no hesitation. We stumbled toward the couch, laughing between kisses, our hands exploring, our breaths heavy. His touch was both tender and urgent, a mix of restraint and desire. "Tell me to stop," he whispered against my skin, his breath hot, his body trembling with need. I looked into his eyes, seeing the conflict there, but my answer was firm. "I don't want you to stop." That confession unlocked something in him. His kisses grew deeper, his hands more daring, and soon I was lost in the storm of his embrace. The world outside my apartment, the neighbors, the city, the rules, none of it mattered. There was only him and me, two people surrendering to something stronger than reason. Afterward, when the night grew quiet again, and the rush of passion gave way to soft breathing, we lay tangled together beneath the dim glow of the lamp. My head rested on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. His hand traced lazy circles along my arm, soothing and protective. "I don't know what this is," I whispered. "But I know I don't want it to end." Daniel tightened his hold around me, pressing a kiss into my hair. "Then let's not end it," he murmured. "Let's just see where it takes us." From that night on, our secret became a rhythm. Quiet dinners that turned into long embraces, lingering touches in the hallway that carried promises, whispered words that bound us tighter together. It was risky. It was intoxicating. It was everything I had never allowed myself to feel before. And every time I found myself in my neighbor's embrace, I knew this was no longer just a secret. It was becoming love. The weeks turned into months, and what began as a single night of stolen passion had blossomed into something neither Daniel nor I could deny. Our secret had grown heavier with time, but so had our feelings. Every stolen glance in the hallway, every late-night embrace behind closed doors only pulled us closer together. One evening, after another long day, I found him waiting by my door. His eyes carried the same fire I had grown addicted to, but this time there was something else, a decision. "We can't keep living in the shadows," he said, his voice quiet but steady. My heart raced. "What are you saying?" He stepped closer, brushing a hand against my cheek. "I'm saying I want more than secret nights. I want you. All of you. No more hiding." The truth of his words shook me. For so long, I had been afraid of judgment, afraid of change, afraid of admitting what I already knew in my heart. But looking into his eyes, I realized the fear didn't matter anymore. The only thing that mattered was him. That night, we didn't rush. There was no desperation in our touch, only certainty. His kisses were slower, deeper, filled with promises of a future we were finally brave enough to imagine. We made love as though we were sealing something unspoken, not just passion, but commitment. When it was over, I lay in his arms, wrapped in the warmth of his body and the safety of his embrace. For the first time, it didn't feel like a secret. It felt like home. "I love you," I whispered, the words trembling but true. His hand tightened around mine. "I've loved you from the moment I first saw you." The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains, and with it came a new beginning. No more hiding, no more pretending. Whatever the world outside thought, it didn't matter. Because in my neighbor's embrace, I had found more than passion. I had found love. And this time, it was ours to keep.